From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Dennis's Heating and Air Conditioning is Northern California's premier heating and air conditioning contractor. From residential housing, large commercial projects, installation to repair, sheet metal fabrication, and everything in between, we are your go-to heating and air conditioning specialist.
Well, good morning, everyone. We're going to be looking at some changes here as we go into the next few days. We're really not going to notice it a whole lot today, although there will be a lot less thunderstorm activity out there today. In fact, for the most part, it'll be dry. We're in a bit of a transition phase right now before we start to see a big drop in our temperatures later on this week. Now, on top of that, with that change in the temperatures, it could bring with it a potential for some thunderstorms in the mountains, but also with the positioning of that low pressure system, it could bring in some gusty winds, elevating the fire danger a little bit as well. And I'm going to tell you about PG&E's PSPS coming up here in just a second as well. But we've also got cooler temperatures. The cooler temperatures, once they drop, for the most part, they're going to stick around and should stay below normal for quite some time. And it's kind of fitting because later this week, we're also transitioning to fall. And it's going to feel a lot like fall out there, especially as we start getting into Thursday, Friday, and through the weekend. Smoke's still a bit of a concern. Trinity County is where we're seeing the bulk of the smoke this morning. It does kind of clear out a little bit here. Looks like it may get a little bit more hazy as some of that smoke tries to drift eastward through the day today, 5 p.m. Maybe some of that haze making its way into even parts of the valley. Now we see another plume of smoke come down into Trinity County, and that's coming close again to the valley, so maybe a little bit hazy for parts of the valley as well, especially this afternoon, and then possibly again for your Wednesday. Let's take a look at your hour-by-hour forecast. Those temperatures creeping back up. Now, I think for the most part we'll be in the upper 80s for most of us in the valley. Some of us, like Redding, for example, maybe even Red Bluff, could touch 90 degrees today, but temperatures after that will really start to drop. Now for the mountains, notice no rain, no showers, no thunderstorms are in the forecast here for today, with the exception of maybe Susanville. And we'll get into that here on future casts here in just a bit. In fact, here it is right now. This is 5 o'clock today. You see how we're seeing a little bit of a pop-up here in parts of eastern Lassen County. Now, it may not be that exact location, but it's showing that there may be just enough instability for that, as most of the activities you can see will be down to our south. Otherwise, the rest of us are looking at dry conditions. Now, Wednesday, we're not seeing any showers and thunderstorms popping up. However, by Wednesday afternoon, we're starting to see some clouds developing in Plumas County. Not out of the question for a stray shower there as well. But again, notice everywhere else, you're looking at those dry conditions. Now here's the setup. This is the low pressure that was bringing us the showers and thunderstorms the last several days. That's moving out of the picture. This right here is coming down from Canada, and what it will do is a few things. Number one, and I think across the board, everyone is pretty much guaranteed significantly cooler temperatures with this area of low pressure as it shifts down to the south over us. Number two, there was a lot of inconsistency and a lot of big question marks as far as where this low pressure is going to go. And it really made a big difference, and it will make a big difference on where this ends up as far as who gets rain, who gets the gusty winds. So let's take a look at that. The forecast models are in pretty good agreement that that low pressure system is going to be just to the north and east of California. Now that's significant because the bulk of the rain and thunderstorms will be on the east side of that. We'll get some wraparound moisture that could come down into places like Modoc County, Lassen, and Plumas counties, all seeing the potential for some of those showers and thunderstorms developing. But also, this is your typical pattern. Sometimes we have what we call these inside sliders, where the low pressure kind of comes in this direction. But this low pressure, even though it's not moving in that direction, it's there as we go into Thursday. And that is a setup, a classic setup, for the potential for some gusty winds, especially as you head down into the valley, but even some of the mountains as well. So that could be a bit of a wind issue and a concern as we go into late in the day Wednesday, and not to mention Thursday. Now, as a result, with this concern right here, PG&E is basically alerting PG&E customers who live in Shasta County, Tehama County, Glenn and Butte counties, that there's a potential for a power shutoff for safety concerns with the potential for this wind. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I am not terribly concerned about this becoming a major wind event. The winds may just be below that criteria period, and I don't think it's going to be really a huge concern. That being said, we can't let our guard down when we have that setup. We're going to have to watch for that closely. That then moves out, as I mentioned, and then we have a big, broad trough of low pressure coming in toward the weekend and early next week. Now, this will stay way off to our west, but there could be a little bit of activity that may break off from that and bring some showers to the coast here by this weekend and early next week. But overall, we're not going to see that really move into our area maybe until the middle of next week. And you can see that. This is Thursday. Remember I was talking about Thursday, the best chance for rain. You see where the clouds are? This is where we have the potential for maybe a stray shower or thunderstorm popping up. But as you can see, Futurecast's not even picking up on any rain. So anything we do see will probably be few and far between, but I think mainly dry for most of us in Siskiyou County, Trinity County, and not to mention the Valley. Then, as we take you into the weekend and early next week, there's that broad trough of low pressure I was talking about, but most of that rain pretty much staying off to our north and west. Now let's talk about the winds. Here's to today, right? Then we go into Wednesday. Now notice Wednesday, as we go to 5 p.m. Wednesday, we're beginning to see the winds pick up here. All right, and then we're also starting to see, especially the north end of the valley, by Wednesday evening, the potential for those winds to begin to pick up. Now, right now, as you can see, not a major wind event. However, we're starting to see these little patches of green. That's upwards of 20 miles per hour. But here's another thing to take note. Number one, the temperatures aren't going to be the summer heat that we're used to. And number two, there's still some residual moisture left over from the activity that we've seen over the last several days. So humidity levels aren't down a whole lot and the temperatures aren't up a whole lot. But that being said, when you get those north winds, that can tend to dry things out pretty quickly. And if we go into Thursday with another wind event, then we could be looking at some concerns there. So let's take a look at the fire weather risk. I'm going to go ahead and, of course, we're looking at yesterday evening. What I want to do is now take you into Tuesday, today, right? So here's 5 p.m. Notice we're not seeing any colors popping up here on the map. You have to get into the yellows before you start getting at least elevated fire danger. All right, so now let's take you into Wednesday. Remember the Wednesday evening in particular is when those winds begin to pick up. There's 5 p.m. on Wednesday. See that little bit of yellow kind of popping up right here, not even into the orange. So we're kind of in what I like to call just that elevated fire risk. Now this forecast model doesn't go out to Thursday, but it'll be interesting. I think the latest forecast model data will be coming in here for the afternoon forecast for today. Keep a close eye on that and we'll see if we see higher fire danger going into Thursday. And my guess is that yes, we will see higher fire danger, but barely within the orange mark here, right? So it's kind of just within that elevated to high risk for those fires. And again, keep in mind, what this forecast model looks at are the winds, the temperature, and the amount of basically moisture expected to be in the atmosphere. So again, on Wednesday, it's not a major concern at this point. All right, let's talk about the temperatures. They're dropping. The big dip will be on Thursday, and then they'll kind of level out in the low to mid 80s here going into the weekend and early next week. So here's your forecast for today. It's warming up a little bit. We're talking about upper 80s to about 90 for Redding and Red Bluff, mid to upper 80s as you head southward. And for the mountains, it's dry. I think there'll be some clouds off to the eastern mountains, but for the most part, dry there as well. But as I mentioned, remember that slight chance as we go into Tuesday, this afternoon that is here. All right, so let's take a look at your 7-day outlook. And there you can see the dry conditions for Mount Shasta for the next 7 days. We've got mainly dry conditions for El Turris, with the exception of that chance on Thursday with that system coming down from Canada. Susanville, a slight chance today. And then as we go into Thursday, that slight chance again, but it dries out for Friday and through the weekend. Looking at your 7-day outlook for the valley. Here we are looking at temperatures dropping. Really nice drop here by Thursday, the high of 81. And then they level out in the low to mid 80s here going into the weekend and early next week. So as we look at Red Bluff and Chico, pretty much the same story there. Remember fall, when we transition to fall, but that's not going to be until Friday night. So your first full day of fall will be on Saturday.